Welcome to Graphic Design for Beginners. I am Miss Marshall, and I'm so excited to have you here today. We are starting this journey for Women's Month, but it's everybody. So if you're watching this in the future or you're coming back to it, welcome. Happy to have you. Happy to see you, and I look forward to sharing this with you. Just a few disclaimers before we start. This is an introductory course. This is a course for people who have no understanding of graphic design, has never made a flyer before, you've never done any work before, but maybe you're interested in getting into it. You may be interested in doing freelance work, maybe Upwork, Fiverr. This is not a course that's going to get you a corporate job in graphic design. This is something that's just going to get you started, get your feet wet, get a basic understanding. It is a 4-hour course, and at the end of this course, you should be able to take on some very basic clients, whether it be an Upwork, 99 Designs, Fiverr, a very basic low-level graphic design job, very basic gig, or work as an intern in somebody else. So this is the start for it. This is where you're going to get your beginning basics and how you're going to proceed. So moving on, we're going to talk a little bit about me and my background and how I learned this and why we're starting it. Let me back up. My background is in branding and marketing, and I started in corporate marketing a long time ago. I spent 8 to 12 years there, 8 years in corporate marketing, doing a bunch of really fun experiential marketing, and 4 years doing a bunch of fun stuff in the office and helping. Moving after that, I started my own brand and marketing firm where I helped train a bunch of interns and a bunch of people to learn to do what you're going to learn to do today. And so we are starting with very basic, little, very easy things, and we're going to have a lot of fun. I like to have fun. I hope you like to have fun. And we're going to be working in Canva today. But before we even get started, we want to go over a few key terms to make sure we all understand things similarly. And because we're using Canva, I'm going to go ahead and start by sharing my screen with that. And as I share my screen, I'm going to go ahead and also explain why we're using Canva. There we go. The reason why we're going to use Canva today is because Canva is free for everybody. And the purpose of this class is so that anybody, anywhere, as long as you have internet connection, can get it done and do it. I love Photoshop. I do love other design tools, but for the purpose of this class, we're going to use Canva today. It is at canva.com. If you do not have a subscription, it's okay. They have a free trial. If you've already used your free trial, it's okay. Use the regular version. You should be able to use the regular version. You might just have to pull in some videos and things like that. But this is the start of it. We're going to go ahead and go to Canva and pull up my screen so I can see it as well. And we're also going to go over some key terms. And if you'd like to follow along, you can go ahead and pull up Canva in your screen as well so that you can look side by side and go with me. The first word we're going to go over is typography. Typography. Where is my Canva window? There we go. Typography. First, I started creating a design. And we're not actually going to do any designing today. We're just going to be learning about Canva. This is the Canva website. On this side, you're going to see all of the things you can use your projects or where your files will be when you finish them, your templates. These are things that you can use from. We will definitely be starting for a template in this class. Your brand, these are things that people can put in place, and we'll get through that as well, to set all the colors, the logo, and everything. Now, mind you, there is an opportunity for you to make more than one brand. So let's say you have a client, and that client comes in and they want you to much work for them. You want to make sure that you just go ahead and put this all in together. We'll go back to get through that in the class as well. Just kind of do a basic overview before we get to typography. And then also there's a lot of apps in here that you can use. Right now, we're just going to go to a template we've already had. But if you wanted to start from scratch, you click on Create right here. And a bunch of different banner, presentation, logo, Facebook post, media kit, Instagram story, resume, certificate, Facebook cover, anything you think of. There's probably already a template for it. But I'm going to teach you a really quick skill right now. You can just type in. So let's say today we're going to start with let's say it's a business flyer. We're going to do a business flyer for a conference. So we're going to say business flyer. And the client wants that. We're going to learn terms. Learn Canva. And I'm just going to pick any one. Let's go ahead and just pick this right here. We'll customize this. It doesn't really matter which one, just picking one. and we'll let that go ahead and get up. Typography, the actual style of the type, the text that you see. So that is it's a descriptive word for whether or not these are block of what the letter is or how it shows up or the kerning for it, the typography. All that is a word that encompasses all the things that we are going to be talking about right now. So when somebody says typography, they're talking about the text of your graphic design. There are other things such as the color, the scheme, the palette, but right now we're talking about typography, which is the text. So next word we're going to go over serif. Okay, what is serif? Let's get to that. Serif is serif and sans serif, whether or not it has feet. So what are feet? This would be actually not a serif font. We're going to find you a serif font so you can see it. Here's one. In this highlight, you see that at the top of the W, at the top of the W, and at the bottom of the A and the bottom of the R, there are what we call feet. If you want to use serif fonts in times where it's more professional, serif fonts give off an air of more seriousness. So serif fonts are going to be seen for education, for business, for healthcare. We definitely want to make sure that we're using serif fonts in times that we mean business. And write these down. Hopefully you're taking notes. I teach in a different style, so this manner might be a little bit different for you. Just write down the notes. You'll get it. If you keep all the notes, it'll be great. If you don't keep the notes, that's okay, because if you log into this course, and you can log into this course online, tech.theishelleempire.us, and going ahead and registering for graphic design, there'll be a little link there in the homework section where you can read all you need to know about all these things. So in the course, just write down the notes. So we have our serif font. Now, as you have a serif font, I guess you could understand that there might be the opposite of serif font, because you obviously see something else right there next to it underneath it. So we're going to go ahead and go to sans serif. Okay, so a sans is going to be this right here. There is no feet. If you see, it has no bottom on it. The ends have no bottom. There's no difference. It doesn't come out any more than it did for the whole letter. There are no feet there. Let's get another example of a serif font so that you can see the difference again. And I'll also give you another example of a sans serif font. When would you use a sans serif font? You can use a sans serif font when you are not as serious, something for an event, a party. You can also use sans serif font for paragraph as well, because it's less important. You can use sans serif if you wanted to relay creativity or childlike manner. Play, for instance, one of the sans serif fonts most people like I've seen before is Comic Sans. I'm actually going to click DM Sans for right now. Here you go. Another sans serif font. As you see, there are no lines at the bottom or at the top or anywhere in there. I'm going to pick one more serif so you can see. Arial Unicode is also a sans serif. There we go. Oh, I'll just do right here. I'm going to take off this bold so you can actually see it. There we go. No feet. Serif and sans serif. We'll move on to our next one. Our next word is script. So if we're going to see serif and sans serif, one has feet, one doesn't have feet. It could be suggested that script, hopefully you know what that is like you said, cursive. Looks like cursive. So we're going to find this a script font. And that's the third. Now, it doesn't need to be used all the time. A lot of people like to use script a lot, but understand a lot of people can't read script. It's not very legible all the time. It's definitely not legible in smaller sizes, so it's not good at all for, I prefer not to use it for logos. I prefer not to use it for anything that needs to be important. So I would never use it on this title right here because you can't read it very far away. I use it for emphasis. You could use it for creative flair, for a little bit of, artistic flair, attention to something artistically, but not really something you want to use like in any section like this, because you can't see it. You're not going to be able to read it very well. So those are three. Where is this? Those are three of the typography. So we're going to move on to our next one is kerning. What is kerning? Okay, so kerning is the space between things. So as you see, we see creative businesses together. You can change the kerning by going here, letter spacing, same thing as kerning. This, where you see the lines, it says spacing, is where you're going to see kerning. Kerning can change the complete look of words just by moving the spacing. So it can be spread out far, or it can be tight in. That is your kerning. When do you want it to be really tight? Well, for instance, if you have a script font, it's important that the kerning be at 1. Usually that type is created to at 1, they would touch together. So look what happens when I open up the kerning on this script. You see how the script doesn't touch anymore? So kerning can be very important. It can also be used to bring emphasis. I like to use wide kerning on very heavy, big, thick letters like this one with big, thick strokes. Maybe not for this long of a word, but it just gives a different look than if it were together. That's kerning. And we'll go over some more details about that in the class, just going over words at the moment. The next one we're going to go into is lorem ipsum. You will see this quite often. What is lorem ipsum? Well, you see it's right here. It is dummy text. It's just dummy text. All it is putting something in place so you can see where words go and you can kind of understand. When you see this dummy text, especially if you're using a template, don't try to changing, don't do, you know what I'm saying? The dummy text is in that spot for a reason. Don't be like, oh, I see the words here, let me move it around. This is already, the reason why I'm starting at Canva also is because there's plenty of templates. This is already a phenomenal outlet. It's even, it's balanced, it's everything it needs. Do not start a template and then start taking things off. So the dummy text is there to give an example of where the things should go. Learn to study these things. The more flyers that you see, the more graphics that you see, you'll start to see patterns and things and understand why they go places. Utilize your dummy text. If this dummy text obviously is a sans serif, because see the no feet, and it is thin, it's not bold, I'm going to pick, if I want to use the template and I want it to stay in the same likeness of the template, because I don't know graphic design as much yet. I want to change the template. We're not going to leave it the same because it's not ours. I want to stay in line with what that dummy text already says. I'm not going to pick a serif, bold, wide font. So look what happens when I change to that, because this one already says, hey, here's a suggestion, a thin stroke, nice sans serif, light font. Let me see what happens when I pick a serif. This is not really a serif font. It looks like a serif. It kind of is a serif font. Yeah. If I pick a serif font heavy, you see how that doesn't work anymore? It just changed the entire look. Even if I were to change, it just changes it. We don't want that. So make sure that whatever dummy text is there as we're doing this class, stay in alignment with whatever they already put there. It's usually for a reason. The dummy text there to help you. It's a guide. Moving on, RGB. What is RGB? You might have seen it or heard of it before. RGB is red, green. Red, green, blue is a color model that usually is done to produce colors, all the colors you're going to have when you are especially on screens. So RGB is for screen use. And it's kind of like if you ever see TV, it has the old school TVs. Wow, I'm dating myself. Old school TVs, when we had the tubes and you had the red light, the green, the red light, the green light, the blue light, red, green, blue can produce all those colors. And this document is in red, green, blue. It is good for screen only. If I'm taking something to get printed, unless I'm printing in the inkjet, which also has like red, green, it's not really red, green, blue. It's like yellow, magenta. Anyway, you got 3. RGB works well for inkjet. But if we are going to be printing it or taking it to a printer, you are going to want to use CYMK. CYMK is a color model that is good for print purposes. This color begins as white and then it gets darker as you add more colors. CYMK is cyan, magenta, yellow, and then K is, I believe it's black. It looks black to me. I don't know why they call it K, but it's black to me anyway. So CYMK is what you would use if you're sending it to print. If you've ever got something in CYMK and you showed up on your screen, on your phone or online, it probably didn't look right. It probably looked maybe faded or dated or something is wrong with it. It's because it's not meant to be viewed on a screen. It's meant to be viewed printing. So when you're doing your work, ensure that we're going to go over what to ask your clients. Ensure that you're asking your client, okay, is this for online or is it for printing? And if it needs to be for both, then provide them both options. You can change the mode of RGB or CYMK when you're doing work, but it's very important to know the difference between the two. The next one is hex. What is a hex code? A hex code is a 6-digit, I guess six letter, 6-digit number that represents a color. So for instance, we go here to change our color. It's going to ask me for a hex code. So it says try blue, so typing in blue, or 00C4CC, a specific color of blue, I'm guessing. So let's see if I type that in. Let me see what color it would give me. Hashtag, that's not hash. Oh, I couldn't even, I don't remember what they said. Anywho, we'll go here. It should, so there's a hex right here. I can pick whatever color I want. And this color blue right now specifically is hashtag 275070. That's the hashtag. So if I were to type that in, this hex is important because you need everything to match. Say, oh, it was just blue. Well, which blue was it? Because if this is my brand color and all my logos and my website and everything is this color blue, don't bring me this blue. That's not the same color blue. Important because it gives you the exact specific color that each brand is going to use to identify with. So you want to make sure that you understand that and you place that here. So when somebody gives you their brand guide, they're going to give you their hex colors. Those hex colors ensure that you're going to show their brand in the way that it was intended. Be the same. If somebody says that, we use a serif font in this area, and the serif font that we use, I don't know, is old Graven MT, right? That does not mean you can pick whatever text you want, or whatever type you want. You're going to use the text that brand guide says, and we'll get to that later as well. Palette. What is a palette? Wonderful thing that this is open right now. Do you see these document colors? This minus this orange, technically. The whole thing will be a palette. They all go together. It looks similar. They match. They blend together. A palette, a color palette, compromises of the colors that can be utilized for any illustration or design work that represents your brand. The chosen brands should be designed to work harmoniously with each other. So mind you, this palette would mean that you can design in any way as long as you're using these colors. And sometimes the palette even has which ones are going to be the main colors, which ones can be secondary colors or complementary colors, or which ones are going to be accent colors. Sometimes brands have all that, but I need you to understand the palette means that these colors are the only ones you can use. If they say, please use my brand design, my brand kit with my palette, then you need to ensure those are the only colors that you use. And they should be cohesive and go together. This class will not teach you how to make a palette, but it will teach you how to utilize one. You can also go online and get your own palettes or look up palettes online. So if you don't even know what colors go together, say color palettes for, let's say you're doing a girl's birthday party. Color palettes for a 14-year-old girl's birthday party. I promise you Google will come up some things. Right here we see a brand kit for Nurse Shonda. This is a former client of mine. And she has this color palette. So all of her colors, you see how they kind of go together. They flow together. All of her documents will be utilizing these colors. And by creating a palette and keeping a palette, you can ensure that your brand, document to document, looks like they belong. They look cohesive. They look the same as your logo, things that you wear, the things that go on your website, everything in one good uniform fit. It doesn't have to be strict. Other people can make different things for you, or other people can use, different designers, as long as we're keeping that palette the same. Opacity. What is opacity? Opacity is the level of color that you see in something. So for instance, let's say I add in I'm going to just pick anything. I'm going to add in this picture of a spoon. Why? Because it's here. Hello, picture of a spoon. Opacity says I don't want to put, that's not what I wanted to put. Okay. Opacity says how much it will be here, like how much I will see it, how much it shows. So this is a button for opacity. It looks like a checkerboard. It says transparency. Transparency, opacity, same thing. If I go down, you see how you can see through it? The more I go, the less opaque it is. Opaque would mean you can't see through it at all. So for instance, if you've got nail polish before and you got an opaque color, you can't see your nail at all, versus one that has an opacity to it. You can see your nail a little bit underneath, even though you can still see the color on top. So opaque, opacity, transparency, same wheelhouse. You want to take this down. Now, mind you, why would you want to use transparency? Well, let's say I am deciding to add, since I want it, that's not where I wanted it. Okay, he's a spoon now. I wanted it in the background. Okay, you can go. Let's say I'm going to add leaves. There we go. We'll just add these leaves, right? Let's say I'm going to add a bunch of leaves. And I want to use them as decor. Now, mind you, do I need to use this leaf as decor? No, I don't. We're just trying it. Cool. We're going to go ahead and let's lower the opacity of one of these leaves. You see? So this has full opacity. This has an opacity of 26, and this has an opacity of 60. So you can see the different levels that you see. Opacity. Opacity enables us to make an element of design transparent. The lower the opacity, the more transparent the element is. For example, 100% opacity means the object is solid and you cannot see through it, like that bottom leaf. Opacity. We're going to go now into brand, logo, mark. So you can call it logo mark is the whole word, or brand mark. So it means the image in which you're going to be recognized by. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and move this out of the way. Here, this would be the brand, the logo. This is two pieces. Usually when you get new clients, they're going to give you their logo. You would not be making logos. You should not make their logo. If they don't have a brand kit or logo, we're not there yet. This is a baby step class. Okay, so let's find one of my logos. Here we go. Here's a logo that I have. It comes already put together. It's one piece and it is transparent. It is an opaque. I mean, not opaque. It's a PNG. So we'll go ahead and take this one and we're going to move it just so you can see. I can shape it. I can put it where it needs to be. The logo is important to go on the documents. Hopefully they have a logo to give you. Sorry, I'm trying to get it so you can see all these things. It's a little bit small. But that is a logo. It can be many colors. It can be one color. It can be multicolored. It can be a gradient. But the logo itself is the actual mark. So even if this again in white, or you see it in a rainbow, this logo specifically has two lines on the side. It has G, it has a circle. You can describe what it looks like. Not necessarily the color or anything like that. This same logo can be in a different format. It can be, I can make a vertical version. This is a horizontal version. You can also make a square version. So it can be also many versions of it, but it still be reminiscent of the original logo. I feel like majority of people know what a logo is. But here's the definition. A logo mark generally does not contain the name of the company. Instead, more abstractly represents the design that the company is using as a symbol or a mark. So in this, even though it has the words here, my notice that I mentioned was these two lions, this circle, this GE. This part here would actually be the logo. This part here is added on so you can read it. I have it together, but this is the part that's logo. Also, for just a reference, this is a, let me pull it up, of a pin that we are having made of the logo for our Shola. Delete this for now. Don't mind you. This is just my example page anyway. This is the logo. Now, mind you, this logo does include Victoria de Nostri because that is our motto. We keep it there. It has a lot of things. It's also our crest, but it's also our logo. We use both. The words at the bottom would say Thou Shalt Empire, but it is not included. This is the part that actually is our logo, which happens to also be our coat of arms, crest, and everything like that, shield, all of that. So just so you understand, it doesn't have to be, it can genuinely just be the image, and it does not necessarily include the words. And your words, the words of your name are not a logo either. Style guide and brand guide. Okay, so what is the style guide and brand guide? Right now we're going to go back to home. So you can see where to put this in when you do. A style guide, brand guide is a document that your client should have that explains how their brand is to be handled. It should have the typography, what to be used for the hierarchy for the typography, what's used for the headings, what type of font is used for the paragraph, what type of font is used for the body, for accent, what colors, in which way they should be used. All those things are going to be in their brand guide or style guide. Be sure to ask for one. Let's see, let's go to brand kits. We're going to just open this one up. It's probably not the same one. Colors, here we go. So in a brand kit, you're going to have colors that she chose. You see, notice the hex. Also make sure this is shown right. Yes, hex on there. They each have a hex. She also has fonts that are specific to her, and the fonts will be the typography. These are just basic words, but typography. So, for instance, title, what should be used? Subtitle, heading, subheading, section heading, body, quote, caption. She hasn't picked any of these just yet, but they can be picked. So these are all different ones that your person might have, your client might have. Brand voice, not set yet, but this is how it's supposed to be spoken, how you want the copy to come off. A brand voice, for instance, if you think of the brand voice of Nickelodeon or Disney versus the brand voice of CNN, different brand voices. You would not hear CNN saying, hey, kids, want to have some fun? You might hear CNN saying, Youth of America, are you interested in helping yourself? So the brand voice is the way that the words come off, a way that you speak. So a brand voice for Cardi B, not the same brand voice as it would be for Michelle Obama. Hopefully your brain is starting to understand. A lot of times you can add photos to a brand kit of things used regularly. Let's say there are photos of people in the leadership of that organization of the client. Let's say there are photos from past events they've had or past experiences or things they want to highlight that they want to use frequently. That would be in that section. Graphics as well. So let's say there are different pieces of just items that they use frequently. The more times you use things, people can become more familiar with your brand. It goes there. And then lastly, icons. So for instance, for Ishola, lions. We use a lot of lions. We use a lot of crowns. We use a lot of royal things. That can go there as well. So all these things are something that you should be getting for your client ahead of time, not creating for them, but getting to them ahead of time to ensure that you have a good understanding of what they are looking for as it pertains to how their brand is represented visually. All those things are very important. And now that we've gotten through that, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And we're going to get into today's lesson. But before we get this lesson, does anybody have any questions on just the basic overview that we've done with just a few pointers on Canva, how to understand some of the terminology before we get into how to actually start working with the client? Because that's what our first lesson is today. You can go ahead and put in the comment section if you have any questions. And I'll be able to answer them in real time. And also, if you like to just say hi or share or anything like that, go ahead and put in the comment section, and I'll be glad and happy to go ahead and go over that with you. But today, our first lesson is how to get our clients, when we get a consultation, how we're going to start it. In this class, week 1, we're going to be going over just getting the client on day 1. Next week, we'll be going over, after we've done this information, gotten all information back from our client, what the next step is on how to start the project. So our homework today will be to actually do this step. All the things that I'm teaching in this class today, you're going to go find a friend, find a family member, find somebody you know that has a business. You're going to do this for free. You're not charging anybody yet. Do this for free. And you're going to ask them, or multiple people, if they'd be willing to go through with you during consultation, and if they would help you with this class by allowing them to be your first client. So how to hold a consultation. We're assuming that you already have somebody who said, yes, I will definitely let you work out. You can do whatever you like, XYZ. You're going to, this is a real person. They're paying you and you really doing, you're taking it seriously. Cool. The first thing you're going to do when you meet with them, you're going to set a time and set yourself up for success. This is going to allow you to create your own Zoom account or any other place that you want to use Google Meet. They're going to be meeting with them. Or create a scheduling document. You need to create something. There should be some kind of way for them to meet with you outside of when you've asked. Give them an opportunity, send an email. I don't care whichever way you'd like to do it, but you're going to set a time. And then you're going to show up to that time. Before you show up to that time, you might want to make sure that you send a reminder email or a reminder call or something about an hour before and then 10 minutes before, because people forget and people have lives and they get busy. These are all best practices for your clients in general. So write this down. If we take a note, write it down. Once you are in the meeting, you're going to start with the first question. After saying hi, nice to see you, super happy you're here, all these wonderful things. The first question you should ask is, what are you looking to accomplish? What are you looking to accomplish? Why ask what are you looking to? Well, mainly because people don't know what they want. They want you. They want help. They want you to be happy with them. By asking what are you looking to accomplish, you're not offering things that you can do or sharing things that you can do. You're gauging whether or not you can actually do what they want, if that's even something that you do. Sometimes people mistake it. So for instance, sometimes people will come to me for branding previously when I had my businesses, and they would expect me to be doing advertising. Like, I need a commercial. Okay. Actually, I don't do commercials. I do graphic design. I do websites. I do business cards, all that. Placement and creating commercials would be more videography and more advertising. And that's a whole different type of campaign. And so I would send them over who does advertising. So by asking the person, what do you accomplish? You can be sure that this is something that is actually in your wheelhouse. We do not want to take on new things that we don't know how to do. Obviously, you don't know how to do this, but for instance, right now we're doing flyers, basic graphics, basic things for online, maybe a flyer for print. So if somebody says, actually, can you create all the graphics for my website? Ooh, actually, that's not in my wheelhouse at the moment. It's a bit outside of my scope. Let me connect you to somebody who can. You want to make sure things are inside the scope of what you generally can do so you can produce the best product. And if not, you'd rather just say, no, thank you, I can't do it. Wonderful. So you ask them what they're looking to accomplish. You're going to write that down. In between each one of these things, you write it down. You're not going to remember. You're not going to remember because it's a long process. So write it down, what they're looking to accomplish. Anybody have any suggestions of what you might be looking to accomplish? Let's come up with something. Put it in the comment section what somebody might be looking to accomplish with their business. Let's say they're saying, just for the sake of it, I have an event coming up on next month on the 30th, and I want to be able to and share it online and share it on social media, and I want to be able to send it in email. Wonderful. So I'm going to write that down. I want to have an event coming up, flyer, email, online, social media. Great. I wrote it down. Awesome. Then you're going to ask the next question, which would be, what have you been doing prior and why you're changing? They're going to tell you some things. Your goal is to get 5 responses, minimum of 5 responses. And as they give you those responses, you're going to think of ways that you can help. You're going to say, oh, but don't say it at that time, in your head. Let's say the first thing they said was, I just don't have time to be doing all this graphic stuff. I have other things going on. And every time I put in my timeline, it gets on the back burner. I don't create anything in time, and it's not enough time for me to actually promote. Okay, write that down. No time. Don't say that out loud, but just next thing. Okay, let's say they say, okay, I also don't know how to make a flyer. I've never actually made a flyer, a good one that looks like other people's flyers. So inexperience doesn't really help you right now because you're new, but it will eventually. They can say that they have difficulty creating a graphic image that will fit in Instagram, Facebook, email. They don't want to make multiple different versions. Don't want versions. Okay, let's assume they did 5. In my head, I'm already thinking, as I'm writing this down, what I can do for that. So as I'm thinking about, for instance, don't want to do multiple versions. I already know in my head, you might not know this yet, that Canva, if you have a pro account, allows for magic resize, which means the document once and then resize it to multiple different dimension shapes and then kind of do a few tweaks starting over. So it takes less time. So I don't mind offering for maybe a small upcharge, even though you're not charging the person right now, you're new, a small upcharge that they don't have to pay for 5 different designs. They can pay for 1 design and then pay for, let's say, $5 for each additional variation, because the variations won't take that much time to fix. So we're going to go through each one and think in our head of ways we can help as we're doing this, and write it down on the side of your paper while you're writing. After you've gotten 5 responses, I'm going to say, I completely understand. If you do, if you don't understand, ask questions, and get a positive response by explaining what you completely understand. I heard you say, not you said. I heard you say that you don't currently have time to actually get these flyers done, and time is of the essence for you and it's important for you. I'm also adding in some things I heard when they said those things. It's important for you to have your flyer and your graphic with enough lead time to give people time to know about it so that you have a good turnout. Is that correct? I'm also going to ask, is that correct? And then the person can say yes or no. If they say yes, absolutely correct, wonderful. I can definitely help with that because you have something in your head. Around time is XYZ. With this amount of time ahead, I believe that we will have it in plenty of time for you to be able to promote your event at a wonderful date. I can have it done to you in this many amount of days. Does that sound good? Get another positive response. Now I've gotten 2 positive responses. Excellent. Wonderful. That list till I get all 5. Once I've gotten responses on all 5 problems that I understand their problem correctly, and then I definitely can help them, then we're going to go ahead and move on to work them through your process. So this is where I'm going to start asking a bunch of questions. Here are 5 questions you can ask right off that will help you a lot. One is, do you have a brand kit? Make sure that they have a brand kit. Make sure that they have all the pieces together. If they say, no, I don't have a brand kit, ask them, because sometimes people don't know what a brand kit is. Ask them, do you already have set typography, colors with hex codes? Do you have a logo? Those type of things. Do you have a document that shares all those things? If they say no, ask them, do they have a logo or any past objects they've already had? Sometimes people just don't know. If they already have maybe 2 or 3 flyers they've already done, you can take that, you can upload it into Canva, and with a dropper, you can find out what colors they have, what hex colors they already been having. You can also take their logo, if they have a plain blank one, it's not PNG, in Canva, you can turn it into PNG. So they have a past document that they like, that they want to continue to work at from. And a logo, we can understand what their brand kit is by putting it in reverse engineering it. Now, in the beginning might be hard, so try to stick with people who already have a brand kit. But you're going to ask them, do they have a brand kit? The second one is, what is the most important aspects that they like to highlight? What aspects do you want to be front and center? And the reason why is because those are the things you're going to put on your document first. And we're going to write this down in order. So when you make your document, you are ensuring that everything gets covered how they want it to. So what aspects are the most important in the beginning? So that way, when you're doing it, that's what the flyer says first, the information says first. After asking what aspects you want to highlight, you're going to ask, what are some bits of information that you want to include that probably gone into more detail in the email or in another communication. So like information that you can go and like won't need a lot of information on the flyer. So for instance, what's not side information? Date, time, location. That is important. What is side information is a raffle. That can go into more detail somewhere else. So it could just say 50-50 raffle in the side on the corner in a different type of font that's not bringing so much attention. And then somebody can care about the raffle, but it doesn't need it. You don't need a paragraph or come to get a raffle if the raffle is not the main purpose of the event. So what is the side info? Then you want a description of the, whatever it is, a description of the event, whatever they're trying to promote, a description. Let's say it's a flyer for their business, a description. The reason why you want a description is it gives you a good brand voice. How they write it, hopefully. It also gives you an understanding of what they want to portray, the energy and the information they want to portray, so that your flyer, your graphic matches what that description said. If the description comes on professional, very, hoity-toity, very, cut and dry, we should not have a very bright, vibrant, colorful, sparkles everywhere flyer. Additionally, you're going to ask them for Additionally, you're going to ask them for any past website, anything that has graphics they liked, or graphics that they like of other brands that are similar to theirs. Now, mind you, we're not going to copy their brand, but I want you to ask them to point out at least 10 things, 5 to 10 things, that they, if it's something that's not theirs, that they liked about it. So let's say they're bringing you other people's stuff. Ask them, what stuck out to you? Because everybody sees different things. They might say, I really liked how the swirls are around the back. And I really liked that, you can kind of barely see things. And they're talking about opacity. And you're like, oh, I thought you actually liked their typography or what they actually had on there. So if they bring you something, ask them, give me 5 things that are elements of this design that you really like. So you can get an understanding of what it is that they want. After you've gotten all of those things, by speaking, you're going to write all this stuff up and regurgitate it back to them again. Get yeses, get an understanding. And you're going to follow up with an email. The email of all these things, you're going to send everything you've talked about, and hopefully you've been writing it down anyway. Or, if you could type, I would write because it's easier to type. Write. Put in an email and follow up and say, thank you for meeting with me. I enjoyed speaking with you this week and today, and I wanted to ensure that I've covered everything. This is what I heard you say. This is what we've come up with a suggestion. This is what you said you wanted. Here are the styles that you said. Here's things you'd like me to use. Here are the elements you would want it to be important. Here's the side information. Here's the main information. Everything we talked about. Just want to confirm this is what we're going for. Absolutely wonderful. You get feedback. You are then going to just stop there. That is what we are doing this week. So to go back over it, take this off for you. There we go. To go back over it, you're going to ask them for their brand guide. Ask them for the aspects. Ask them for the side info. Ask them for a description of whatever it is that you're creating for. Ask them what elements they liked about the things they've already asked. And you're going to send all this information as well as information from the consultation email to recap and confirm that is what they like. That is your homework this week. So when you turn in your homework, what you'll be turning in is that you can turn to Google Doc, that information that you sent over that they've confirmed. And we're going to start next actually working on that document. I'm going to take you from that email to actually walking through creating your first graphic design. So that is today's class. If you have any questions or comments, please put in the comments. I definitely am able to get this back to you and refer back to you and share with you. I'd love to help you out with that. Also, don't forget to register, take quizzes, and receive credit for this class online. We are looking for interns, so if you complete this class, we'd love to have you as an intern at the Total Tech Firm. And you can also go to tech.theasholaempire.us to continue. With that, I hope you had a great week, and I look forward to seeing you next. Goodbye.